Hello there and welcome back to the channel, or welcome. In this second video of the series we are gonna create the auto material. So let's start. First I'm gonna delete the old textures. We are gonna use them, but this time we are gonna start working on the blue scene. You don't have to delete the two constants, which I just deleted at the breakdown material. Here, just by holding 3 and then click, you can create the constant vectors, which are going to be our colors. I'm just going to create two different shades of blue, and we are going to lerp them together soon. Now I just sped it up, but we are going to create the other layers, so the rock layer and the path layer. Connect them with the lines and give them a nice color. You can use whichever colors you want. Now I brought in a noise texture. You can get it from the starter materials. You just search for noise in the content and just drag it into your material canvas. Then we are going to add a texture coordinate node. Give it a new parameter, a scalar parameter, by holding S and clicking. And then we are gonna multiply those two. This will give us the ability to control how much noise we want between our two colors when we are merging them together. The multiply node is holding M and then clicking. And we are gonna plug it into the UV of our noise and then connect the noise to our alpha. I'm just gonna copy paste these so that all of our nodes can have it, and do not forget to rename the parameters you just created, or else you will only have one parameter to work with. And now we are gonna plug in our lerp nodes into the layer blend. And if you saw that, I did leave out the ground layer. That's gonna come in a bit later. We are just checking if the colors are nice and how does the lerp and the noise work together. And as you can see, it works pretty good. I really like these kind of blends. And it finished compiling, and this is how it looks. Now in a moment I will show how the tiling works with the noise. So I open up the material instance. This is why we created the instance, so that we can mess with our parameters on the fly. And as you can see, by changing the value at the noise tiling, we are getting different sizes of noise on our scene. Let's try it with the rock. And as you can see in the background, the rock is starting to look a bit better. And we are gonna leave the path alone for now. Because I think this kind of tiling looks good with the path. It's a bit more small, detaily sort. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. Let's start creating our auto material. We are just gonna plug in our ground colors and put it to the top, because that's where we are gonna merge it with the grass. Now we created a world aligned layer blend. This is gonna be the node that helps us determine what layer to use. On the steeper slopes we want to use rock, and on flats we want to use the grass. And we are going to create two scalar parameters soon, the blend bias and the blend sharpness, which are going to control the slope that we want. Rock BS, rock BB, these are going to be the parameters I'm going to be working with. And I'm going to set the values for them. You can play around with these values. There are multiple ways you can use them. For example, I am using 20 and -50, but you can actually interchange that. So interchange the negativity of them. So you can go -20 and +50. It's gonna be basically the same results, but you can switch in the lerp the layers that you're blending. Okay, let's tidy it up a bit so that we have a bit more space to work with. Let's comment them. It's I recommend getting used to commenting your stuff, because after a while it's gonna get really complicated, and next time you visit the material you're just gonna see a big spaghetti of code, and that's not gonna be pretty, and it's not gonna be easy to work with. Okay, so now we are gonna blend the rocks and the ground, so that from rock it goes to ground and then it will go to grass. But first we have to blend the rock and the ground together. So we are just gonna do the exact same thing as before, and here is gonna be the showcase of what happens if you forget to rename your parameters after copy pasting them, because here I set them again, and soon I will not understand what happened because it's not working as it should, because even though these are separate nodes, the values are going to be the same because I forgot to rename them. So we are previewing the node, and it looks actually just fine, because it's going to be the next step that's going to look weird. So as you can see, we have ground and a rock, and now let's connect up the grass to our blend, and what you will see is that it's just going to be grass and then rock, and there should be a line between them, but because I forgot to rename them, nothing is happening. And yes, I noticed it, so we are just gonna rename it to grass BS and grass BB, and then set the values again. And reset the values which we screwed up accidentally. And now we have the line which we wanted. So now you can see that from grass it goes to ground and then to rock. So there is a blend between the two layers. Here you can play around a bit with the values, but since these are actually parameters, you will be able to set them on the fly in the material instance. So for now I'm happy with that, so I am gonna plug this lerp into the auto layer in the layer blend node. And now let's just save it and wait for it to compile. And actually let's give a weight to the layer. And since we have started with the normal layers and already painted, our landscape is still the same. So we will have to paint over everything with the auto layer that we just assigned a weight to. So again, paint under landscape and start painting and waiting for it to compile. It won't have to compile every time you paint. Now, and as you can see, we do have our results. So on the steeper sides, it creates the rock, and there is a ground layer between the rock and the grass. So these are essentially the basics of an auto material. Of course, there can be more to do, for example, height-based snow, so you can have snow-capped mountains. So yeah, and here you can play around with the values if you want thicker layers of dirt between your rock and the grass, or vice versa. And you have to find a good synergy between the blends. So how does the grass blend with everything? And you can achieve that by, as I said, playing around with the values and checking what does what when you do that. So yes, this is essentially the base of any auto material. What I plan to do in the next video is gonna be based around the tiling, so that when we use our actual good textures, it's not gonna look rectangular and stuff, because when you just tile something, so use an actual texture instead of just colors which I used, it's gonna get repetitive and you're gonna actually see the lines even if you use high quality textures. So the next video's premise is gonna be that how to make those disappear or make it hardly visible. Like that. This is gonna be the end. So thank you for watching, and in the next video, as I said, we are gonna be working on tiling. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.